Thank you. Anjali Mataji, go ahead.
Hare Krishna Mataji. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Sakshat Bhagavaduktena Guruna Harini Nrupa Vishuddha Jnana Deepena Spurata Vishwato Mukham. Hare Krishna Mataji.
Thank you. Sakshat, directly, Bhagavata, by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Yuktena, instructed, Guruna, the spiritual master. Harina, by Lord Hari. Nripa, O King. Vishuddha, pure. Jnana, knowledge. Deepena, by the light of. Sphurata, enlightening. Vishwataha Mukham, all angles of vision. Translation by His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada ki jai. In this way, King Malayadwaja attained perfect knowledge because in his pure state, he was directly instructed by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. By means of such enlightening transcendental knowledge, he could understand everything from all angles of vision. Purport by His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada ki jai. In this verse, the words Sakshat Bhagavatoptena Guruna Harina are very significant. The Supreme Personality of Godhead speaks directly to the individual soul when the devotee has completely purified himself by rendering devotional service to the Lord. Lord Krishna confirms this also in Bhagavad Gita, chapter 10, verse 10. Tesham satata yuktanam bhajatam pritipurvakam dadami buddhi yogam tam yena mam upayanti te. To those who are constantly devoted and worship me with love, I give the understanding by which they can come to me. The Lord is the super soul seated in everyone's heart, and he acts as the Chatya Guru, the spiritual master within. However, he gives direct instructions only to the advanced pure devotees. In the beginning, when a devotee is serious and sincere, the Lord gives him directions from within to approach a bona fide spiritual master. When one is trained by the spiritual master according to the regulatory principles of devotional service, and is situated on the platform of spontaneous attachment for the Lord, Raga Bhakti, the Lord always also gives instructions from within. Tesham satata yuktadnam bhajatam pritipurvakam tadami buddhi yogam tam. This distinct advantage is obtained by a liberated soul. Having attained this stage, King Malayadwaja was directly in touch with the directly. Okay, let's read one more. Reena Gupta Mataji, verse number 42.
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Hare Krishna.
Mataji 42.
Yes.
Pare brahmani chatmanam param brahma tathamani Vikshamano vihaksheyam asmadu pararamaha. Hare Krishna Mataji.
Thank you. Pare, transcendental. Brahmani, in the absolute. Cha and Atmanam, the self. Param, the supreme Brahma, absolute. Tatha, also Atmani, in himself. Vikshamanaha, of thus observing. Vihai, giving up. Iksham, reservation. Asmat, from this process. Uparar Rama, retired. Her certainly. Translation by His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada ki jai. King Malayadwaja could thus observe that the super soul was sitting by his side, and that he, as the individual soul, was sitting by the side of the super soul. Since both were together, there was no need for separate interests, as he ceased from such activities. Purport by His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada ki jai. In the advanced stage of devotional service, the devotee does not see anything separate between his own interests and those of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Both interests become one, for the devotee does not act for a separate interest. Whatever he does in the interest of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. At that time, he sees everything in the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and the Supreme Personality of Godhead in everything. Having attained this stage of understanding, he sees no distinction between the spiritual and the material worlds, In perfect vision, the material world becomes the spiritual world due to its being the external energy of the Supreme Lord. For the perfect devotee, the energy and the energetic are non-different. Thus, the so-called material world becomes spiritual. Sarvam khalam idam brahma. Everything is intended for the service of the Supreme Lord, and the expert devotee can utilize any so-called material thing for the Lord's service. One cannot serve the Lord without being situated on the spiritual platform. Thus, if a so-called material thing is dovetailed in the service of the Lord, it is no longer to be considered material. This is how the pure devotee in his perfect vision sees from all angles. Okay. Omagyantimirandasya Gyananjanjalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Gadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam. Hey Krishna Karna Sindhu Deen Bandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kantha Radha Kantha Namasite Tapta Kanchan Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishbhanuste Devi Pranamami Hari Priyai. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaur Bhakti Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Namam Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pishtaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Iti Namine. Namaste Saraswati Deve Gaurvani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. Okay, so in this way, King Malyadwaja attained perfect knowledge because in his pure state, he was directly instructed by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. By means of such enlightening transcendental knowledge, he could understand everything from all angles of vision. Vishvataha Mukham. King Malyadwaja could thus observe that the Supersoul was sitting by his side and that he, as the individual soul, was sitting by the side of the Supersoul. Since both were together, there was no need for separate interests. Thus, he ceased from such activities. Very nice verse. Okay, we are reading from 4th Canto Srimad Bhagavatam, which is entitled Creation of the Fourth Order, chapter 28, which is entitled King Puranjana becomes a
Women in the next
woman in the next life. And we are at a stage where Vidarbhi and her husband, what is the name of the husband? Malyadwaja. They have taken to the Vanaprastha life. And initially we understood what is the meaning of the word Malyadwaja, which means that, what does Malyadwaja mean? What does it mean?
One who is fixed like
mountain, firm like mountain.
Firm in what? Like mountain?
Firm faith.
In
faith,
bhakti,
service.
Yes, one who is firmly fixed in his devotion to Krishna like a mountain. So, yes, in that way, Malyadwaja is now showing by his activity how is he like fulfilling the definition of his name. Basically, it's Malyadwaja, fixed in devotion to Krishna like a mountain range. A mountain range goes through so much, right? It goes through so many weather changes. It goes through so many changes inside the earth, not only outside in the environment, but also inside, right? It also goes through so many damages from the animals or the plantations, but it stands straight. It stands very, very big. Tell me some of the big mountain ranges that you have seen in your life. What have you seen?
Himalayan.
Not just
Himalayan
but
the great Himalayas. The great Himalayas.
some of you have seen Himalayas. Okay, what else?
Vindhyachal mountain.
Vindhya ranges.
Vindhyachal, okay.
Alps of Europe.
The Alps.
Alps of Europe.
Alps of Europe, okay, the
Rocky
snow-covered
Mountains
mountains.
of Canada.
Rocky Mountains, okay. What else? So, yes, very nice. So, each one of us basically is hoping each one of us has seen some sort of a mountain range. We might not remember the name, that's also possible, but we have seen. one mountain range that really like specifically like inspires me is the Grand Canyon in Arizona. So it's like there are some mountain ranges which are named as Brahma or Hanuman, based on who it's done. It has nothing to do with anybody from India. It's just like named as Brahma Mountain or Hanuman Mountain. Anyway, but then it spread so wide. Wherever you look, it's just mountains and mountains and mountains. So if you have not seen, imagine that you're in a mountain range. You're standing there. What do you feel? What are some of the feelings that we feel when we are standing at the peak of a mountain, or when we are looking at that mountain range from not only in the screen, but in the real life, from whatever distance? I feel like determination, like this feeling of determination, feeling of strength or integrity, right? Yes, some people also have fear of heights. That's fine. But there is like all these feelings go through you, or you don't reflect, just go and feel the weather and come back home.
No, yes,
It
it
always
does.
ends
It is always there.
Yes, Mataji.
Okay. So basically, Malyadwaja is now staying strong with the meaning of his name, and he's showing us what it really takes to be a devotee of Krishna. We studied yesterday, the first quality is that the devotee of Krishna is always able to take up the austerities. It's not a question, because that person has already answered that question, the defining the need for doing the austerity in an authorized way, an authorized austerity, not austerity which is made by mind. Arjuna asked this question to Krishna in chapter 17. What does he ask to Krishna in chapter 17 of Bhagavad Gita? What is the question? What is the question? First verse itself he asks. What is the Bhagavad Gita, chapter 17, verse 1?
The person who does the austerity is not related to the Vedic scriptures or something like that, Mataji. The Ashuras.
Yes.
Ashura it is, yes.
Very nice. At least one person remembers. So what is the destination of that person, or what kind of a devotion is that, in who is doing some devotion, who's doing some practice, but it is not from the scriptures? Then Krishna talks about different things being in different modes of material nature. And then he talks about an unauthorized religious practice or unauthorized austerity as being in what mode of nature? What mode? No, I can worship anybody I like.
Ignorance.
Like a hippie. Ignorance.
Ignorance.
Yeah, ignorance. Right. So he is doing the austerity, Malyadwaja, and Malyadwaja is in the austerity which is authorized for that particular time when his pastime is told, and it is under the shelter of a spiritual master. Then what is the result? The first result is he's able to get the perfect knowledge. He's able to control. The first result is he's able to control his own senses. He's able to come out of this agitation. He was able to overcome the duality. We studied all this, right? The duality, these are the stages of becoming an Uttamadhikari. Takes up the severest austerity, doesn't bother, and because knows the real purpose behind that austerity, and then is able to overcome the duality. Once the duality is overcome, one gets mental strength to continue with more severe kind of austerities. Initially, we saw that he was eating raw fruits, he was eating roots, he was bathing in this river near his Kulachala, near the place called Kulachala where he was staying. And eventually we saw that he just stood for 36,000 years. I just stood for 36,000 years for austerity. How do we prepare oneself for such big commitments if we are not really convinced? And then what happened? He attained the perfect knowledge. And perfect knowledge was the knowledge of the soul, the super soul, and the material body. And because he was situated in the perfect knowledge, what happened? That there was this enlightenment of transcendental knowledge from all angles of vision. So this is very interesting how we understand this all angles of vision. So when we are conditioned materially, what are our angles of vision where we can go, in terms of we can look up, down, sideways, corner. So basically all these visions are either in the x-axis, y-axis or z-axis, right? Can you look beyond x-axis, y-axis, z-axis? Has the science been able to come up with a fourth dimension where we are able to look for all angles of vision, literally angles of vision? Anybody here?
No, Mataji.
No, Mataji.
Mataji.
But then actually there are 8 directions in the material world, and then there is a vision, angle of vision beyond this material world. So our vision is very imperfect because we are not even able to look at our own, head with our own eyes without the help of a mirror or a camera. Or even the eyelid, which is covering the eye, can't look up. If I put my eyeball up, I can't see. So the angles of vision are very restricted, very restricted. That's why if you go to an eye doctor, they can test your range or our range of vision within a particular spectrum. And we can diagnose the diseases in a particular spectrum. But we cannot diagnose a disease in a spectrum which we don't know about. So that angle of vision, which brings me to a thought that if somebody really wants to become Krishna conscious, one has to really become so introspective and convinced in one's practice of Krishna consciousness personally. One is able to look at the different kinds of worlds that one is living in. We are living in a world, let me see if we can start writing this, a world which is told to us by others, which we are like, I'm born in this particular family. For a child, Prabhupada explains this, the world is like limited to the mom and dad. Then as the child grows, they recognize other people in their life. And then as the child grows, the people in the family in their life. And once they go out, the child goes out of the house, they recognize there are other people other than my family, in school or in my neighborhood. And once the child is more grown, then they can recognize that actually there are people all over the country. And then if they grow big and sensible, then they can see that there are people even in the world. And then that way vision, if somebody comes in contact with Krishna consciousness, they can see there are living entities even beyond this earthly planet. Right? So our vision or our angle of vision goes on expanding as our understanding is expanding. Yes or no? So far, so good. So that's the world. Our angle of vision is restricted to the world that is being told to us. The world that is being told to us by someone. Which I mean is like, okay, my world is my family. My family is my world. Have you heard these kind of things? My family is my world.
Yes.
Or my children are my world.
Yes,
Mataji. Parents are my world. My job is my world. So many worlds we make. So how is it the world? Well, how come we don't have one particular common definition of what the world is? Then there is another world which we live in where we see ourselves in. One is told to us, and then one we see myself, or I see myself, you see yourself living in that world. The world that we perceive for us, for our own self. And that depends about how much, how much spectrum we have extended in our life. How much have we been able to become accessible to others, or others have access to us? If you talk about a very famous personality, be it a political person, be it from the background of cinema, or be it from singing, or be it from a classical dancer, you see, these personalities who are performing internationally, they say we belong to the world. I'm an international personality. Have you heard like this? So they are perceiving themselves as a part of the world, which is broader than their own home country.
They call themselves as international celebrity.
International celebrities. Okay, so that's another world we look on, and their angle of vision is different. from somebody who has not been out of their own town also. Like if we tell somebody, if you tell somebody the place where you're living in, there may be someone who will come and say, I've never heard of that place, even though that place may be like very obvious on the map, but they have never heard because that's not a part of their world which they perceive themselves living in. All right, then there is another world, the world where we live in our subtle body. That's another world. That's my virtual subjective reality. Okay, I may have a different world in my mind altogether. That is why most of the people suffer from mental illnesses, because they are not able to bring that subtle world within them into the gross world. There's somebody is thinking, I'm a millionaire, I'm a millionaire, I'm a millionaire. And they devise this plan that I'm going to earn money like this, like that, and the plan fails. So the person becomes very upset. What is the reason to become so upset? Because the world that was inside could not be perceived outside. It stayed inside, right? So and so we all have a world which is where we have made a, Prabhupada calls this as different names in Bhagavad Gita. One name he calls it as phantasmagoria, which is like a house in the sky. Like, is there a house in the sky or a horse laying eggs? Does the horse lay egg? It is there. It's the reality for that particular person is real, but that reality is not coinciding with the virtual reality of someone else. And that is why most of us carry the traumatic experiences in our lifetime. Most of the traumatic experiences are carried in the subtle body, and they are real for that person. And I'll give you an example. Like my Guru Maharaj told us one story. He was in Bhaktivedanta Manor one time, and a lady came to him and she said, Maharaj, I have been holding this negative feeling about this friend of mine for a long time now. And it is not letting me enter into new friendships, because I was so hurt by this friend that I have this fear of not becoming close in friendship with anyone else. So my Guru Maharaj asked, okay, so what is it when you say long time? Because it's a relative world. We long for you may not be long for me. Could you please elaborate what is this long time? She said 25 years. 25 years. And my Guru Maharaj was like, my God, 25 years you have deprived yourself and you have not like taken steps to heal. That's horrible. So basically what I'm trying to say is that the people change externally, we change externally, and our experiences also change, our ability to acquire knowledge also change. Or sometimes, people like die also, whoever we thought were caused some hurt to us, but we are still stuck at that feeling. We are still stuck at that moment. So what's stuck? Which part of our world or existence is stuck? And it is stuck. Is real. It's not, don't try to defy it, refute it or minimize it, because it is going to come out. If not in this life, it will be carried to the next life. That is why it is important to process these things, so we don't carry it and actually understand Krishna from all angles of vision. That's where I'm actually coming slowly. So that particular world which is stored in my subtle body. Okay, then there is another world, which we can perceive in our understanding, but can't access physically yet. And by this, what I mean is the spiritual world, or my existence as a soul in this world. Okay, my real identity as part and parcel of Krishna. We can perceive it, we can know it from the Shastras, but we can't see it physically. We can't access it. We can't like, okay, we can read about Goloka Vrindavan is a place where every step is a dance and every word is a song. There is no sun, there is no moon, and everybody is just in head over heels love with Krishna, and everything is around Krishna. Every activity is around Krishna. Every person is around Krishna. Every animal, every flower, every wind, drop of water, sand, ground, everything is around Krishna. But how many of us can actually access that? We can understand, but do you really have access, or do you even have a comparison of that place in the experience that we have had in this life so far? Can you compare it to something?
Beyond.
Not. I cannot. So let me, you have to study, understand it very properly, understand everything from all angles of vision. So that is a Mahabhagavat who is able to understand that, okay, I have to understand myself at a human level, and then I have to understand myself at human level as a gross body and a possessor of a gross body or a subtle body. Then I have to understand myself as a spiritual level, that I am really a soul and I have nothing to do with this material body, gross or subtle. Understand, not Falgu Vairagya or not Falgu acceptance of a knowledge. Understand. And then also understand and see that there is Krishna sitting with me right there, and I am sitting with Krishna. So if we both are sitting together, then we cannot have different interests. Prabhupada explains this by an example of different members of a family. Prabhupada says that different members of a family can be doing different things. You know, one can be taking care of the kitchen, one can be taking care of the outside work, one can be taking care of raising the children, one can be taking care of, so many other things which goes on in the family. But everybody have the same interest, that how to continue this family, how to nurture the family, how to nurture the members of the family. They will be doing other things, but they have the same interest. Everything is interest based on the world of that family. Like that, when a Mahabhagavata is able to open all these doors, I wonder what that would look like. I'm not a Mahabhagavata, but I can totally fascinate and relate that what kind of a feeling will that be, that you're able to open up my existence at the human level, able to look at, not very deep. We should not go very deep in our psychological traumas, because then we can get lost. But at least understand the reason behind all that. See myself as a subtle body, see also myself as soul, and see Krishna sitting with me. And I am sitting with Krishna. So both is important, right? We can say that, okay, I'm sitting with you, but it is very important to say that you're also sitting with me. So that means that there is a sense of unity, and all those angles of visions have been understood. And then what happens? Because we understood, because Malayadhwaja understood all these things, he had no need to do anything else. There was no need for separate interest. Does he cease from such activities? Like when we tell people in Krishna consciousness in the beginning stages, please refrain from these 4 principles. Please follow. Now, not refrain, please follow these 4 regulatory principles. No intoxication, no gambling, no meat eating, and no illicit relationships. So, which actually in a way, Prabhupada talks, and Krishna says this in 2nd chapter Bhagavad Gita, that they are the regulatory principles of, what are they? Regulatory principles of, what is the word used? I think it's 2.64 or something. Regulatory principles of what? Krishna, am I audible or am I just talking to myself?
Yes, Mataji, you are
Mataji, you are
audible.
audible.
Regulatory principles of? I think we should never forget Bhagavad Gita.
Freedom,
It's
Mataji.
called
Hare
like
Krishna.
Very
Yama,
nice.
Mataji.
Hare
Very
Krishna.
nice, Chitra Mataji. Regulatory principles of freedom. So what are we actually freeing ourselves? I'm just looking for that verse. that what are we really like freeing ourselves. Krishna says regulatory principles of freedom, and a conditioned soul thinks that if I follow these regulatory principles, they are very restrictive, they are very institutionalized. So tell me, what verse is that? Regulatory principles of freedom. Does anyone remember? I'm trying to see.
Mataji, 2.64.
रागद्वेष विमुक्तैषु विषयाविनीन्द्रिश्चरन् आत्मवैषव्यविद्येद आत्मा प्रसादम् अधिगच्छति. Hare Krishna Mataji.
What verse is that, Mataji? What number?
2.64 Mataji.
It is
2.64.
64.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you. But a person free from all attachment and aversion and able to control his senses through the regulatory principles of freedom can obtain the complete mercy of Lord. And we can see that this is what is happening. So this is an instruction, and this is an example, and also a way of attaining this instruction or fulfilling this instruction. That actually I have thoroughly understood myself, Krishna. I've thoroughly understood my existence and my reason to be here in this material world. And now I want to do an activity which will thoroughly make me understand of who I am really, who you are really, and how can I increase that angle of vision, that particular existence. I think that will be a very nice, it sounds fascinating to me. Does it sound fascinating to you? Does it sound adventurous to you? Full of adventure, full of discoveries? You know, when somebody goes to a vacation, what do they go there for? Discovering, resting, right? Learning.
Yes.
So,
Yes,
so
Mataji.
all these things are there in this journey of Krishna consciousness. And we must not try to minimize the importance and the practice. And if we are not doing and following the regulatory principles, or at least trying sincerely to follow, then we are actually depriving ourselves to enhance our angle of vision. So we will remain with this eye disease. But Krishna consciousness is a Aushadhi. Aushadhi, Prabhupada explains this word Aushadhi. Means, or chikitsitam. Chikitsitam, he says, means that which is going to treat. This is a treatment. Okay, so understand that there are stages in the life of a devotee to attain the stage of Uttamadhikari. What those stages are from the lifespan of Malyadhvaja. And how does a person attains that stage? What are his activities? What is his understanding? And what is his consciousness like? And we also call this person in Bhagavad Gita as what? Second chapter talks about it. Sthitadhir Muni. Sthitadhir Muni, one who is fixed.
And,
Any
we
questions,
read
reflections? What, Mataji?
Yes, Mataji, we read about in Ishopanishad also about Mahabhagavat, Ekatvam Anupashyata. One who sees everything and every living entities as a Krishna's energy.
As part and parcel of Krishna,
Parcel of
not
Krishna.
energy, but part and parcel of Krishna. Thank you. Yes, thank you for reminding. It's a very short version. I'm telling a very short version of these verses, but there's so much to learn from these verses in our regular life.